As we have a look at theme 9, in the last class we saw officials and recruitment, where I told you a little about the Mansabdari system and the various terms that were used for other officials. Today we're going to have a look at provincial administration. Just like we studied in European history in Form 11, the way of administration, that there were provinces, it was a similar, especially in the Roman Empire, it was a similar idea in India during the Mughal rule as well. There were various provinces. A province was called a Suba, and a governor or the head of the provincial administration was called a Subedar or a Subadar. There were subordinates who helped the various ministers. They were known as Diwan, Bakshi and Sadr. A sub-district was called a Pargana. Commandants with heavy cavalry. Cavalry is horsemen, and musketeers. Musketeers are people who use muskets. Muskets is a type of gun. Deployed with their contingents in districts, these commandants were called Faujdar. Today also in army, we use the word term Faujdar, similar term. The keeper of revenue records was called Kanungo, and the revenue collector was called Chaudhuri. Beyond the frontiers. Well, the Mughal Empire was a massive empire in its own right. However, it was not the only one. It had neighbors who were equally powerful, which were equally powerful dynasties with big empires of their own, and it was important for the Mughals to maintain diplomatic relations with them. So let's see how they did it. You had the Safavids of Iran. The political and diplomatic relations between the Mughal kings and the neighboring countries of Iran and Turan hinged on the control of the frontier defined by the Hindu Kush mountains that separated Afghanistan from the regions of Iran and Central Asia. We'll have a look a little later as to what this area was. A constant aim of Mughal policy was to control strategic outposts, notably Kabul and Kandahar. Today, present day, these are Afghanistan. Kandahar was a bone of contention, that's a typo, contention between the Safavids and Mughals. Contention here means that Mughals and Safavids were always fighting for this place called Kandahar. It was an important outpost. It was possessed by Humayun and it was later reconquered by Akbar also, but by 1622 it was finally under the control of the Persians. So the Safavids of Iran, the earlier name of Iran was Persia. Okay, so people from Iran were also called Iranians, but once upon a time, because Iran was Persia, people from Iran or Persia were also called Persians. However, so finally, Kandahar was conquered by the Persians. Then the Ottomans. Ottomans are going to be the rulers of a very important Mughal line, Turkey, the Caliphate. There was a concern for free movement of merchants and pilgrims. The areas under the Ottomans were crucial for the Muslims, Mecca and Medina. So the Ottomans controlled these two very important regions also. The Mughal emperor usually combined religion and commerce commerce as trade by exporting valuable merchandise to Aden and Mocha, both Red Sea ports, and distributing the proceeds of the sales and charity to the keepers of shrines and religious men there. So how did the Mughals keep the Ottomans happy so that the Mughals from India and under the Mughal rule could travel to Mecca and Medina for their Hajj? Well, they traded with the Ottomans and they gave them gifts. However, when Aurangzeb discovered cases of misappropriation of funds sent to Arabia, he favored their distribution in India, which he thought was as much as a house of God, as Mecca. So what does this mean? It means that Aurangzeb was a very strong ruler, and when he realized that there's a lot of corruption in his empire and all the money he was giving to his officers to later give on to the Ottomans so that his people could safely and comfortably travel to Mecca and Medina, his corrupt officers were pocketing that money. So finally he said, fine, I'm not going to give this extra money because there is really no need to go to all the way to Mecca and Medina, because let's use the funds here in India where the empire is here, and here also we can pray to the same God. The Jesuits, the Society of Jesus, these are going to be people from Europe. They were missionaries, travelers, diplomats, and merchants. The Christian missionaries to India during the 16th century were a part of a process of trade and empire building. The first mission came at Akbar's court at Sikri in 1580. Two more missions were sent to the Mughal court at Lahore in 1951 and in 1591 and 1595. Akbar was interested in Christianity. The Jesuits spoke to Akbar about Christianity and debated its virtue with the ulama. So ulama was the Orthodox religious group, Islamic Orthodox religious groups, or the group of Islamic religious scholars. And they often were not very happy with the tolerant ideas of Akbar. However, Akbar was so interested in knowing about other religions that he will form something called as the Ibadat Khana, which will be like this house of discussion. And there he used to call these Jesuit priests and he used to listen to them about Christianity. The Jesuit accounts are based on personal observation and they shed light on the character and mind of the emperor, which means so these Jesuit priests also wrote about their experiences in the Mughal Empire, and when they went back, a lot of people read about how tolerant and a very interesting sort of an emperor Akbar was. In the next lesson, we'll have a look at in detail about this Ibadat Khana, which Akbar used in order to promote his tolerant ideas. Thank you.